Hi, everyone. All right, I'll go ahead and get started with an introduction to really briefly myself and Allie here, who's the star of the show. My name is Avanti. I am one of the customer success managers here at Healthie, and I have Chrissy and Jen on the call as well, who are also customer success managers who you may be very familiar with. We are also very lucky to have Allie here today leading this webinar. So Allie is a certified professional biller with over 25 years of working with healthcare payers. She's worked with payers and providers to streamline their billing processes, reduce denials, and increase reimbursements, which is why we have been working with her to present to you this series of live classes. So I guess this is a really quick call out that this is a series of classes. There's a separate link to sign up for each one, and you should be receiving those from our team. If you have any questions about those, feel free to ask us about that. Continuing on here with Allie, she has had 16 of those 25 years working for one of the largest insurance companies. And for the past 8, she's managed billing for a group practice who does use Healthie, which is how we know Allie here. And now she also has her own billing service for dietitians and, of course, is working with us in her spare time. So, Allie, I will pass it off to you.
Well, thank you, Avante, and welcome everybody today. Our first class is Mastering Healthy CMS 1500 form. So today we're going to try to walk you through everything you need to know about managing the CMS 1500 form within Healthy. So the agenda.
Sorry, Allie, really quick. I forgot to mention the Q&A.
Oh, I'm so
The
sorry.
Q&A
Go ahead.
box. So sorry to interrupt you. So, for those of you on the webinar, we do want to encourage you to ask questions. We'll have time at the end to answer those questions. But throughout the session, if you'd like to ask questions, please use, instead of using the chat, please use the Q&A box, which is a little box in the Zoom screen that has a question mark in it. That just helps us to keep track of the questions, answer the questions, rather than a chat, which can get a little bit messy. So please use the Q&A section. All right, Allie, all you now.
Thank you. So the agenda today is we're going to walk through how to create a CMS 1500 form in Healthy. We'll take a closer look at where the key data fields pull from and how to export and submit claims. The key takeaways today are how to create and populate the CMS 1500 form in Healthy, best practices for completing key fields to avoid claim rejections, exporting and submitting claims via Healthy with ease, and popular Healthy billing integrations. Common mistakes to avoid. So let's get started. So for the billing basics, you need to decide when and how often you do your billing is essentially up to you, but it might depend on the volume of claims that you have. So here's a little bit of advice. So decide when you want to do your billing and block off that time and day. That way, batching will be a time saver for you in your brain and workflows. Run the healthy, running a healthy appointments report is good. That's what I usually do. We did it weekly, and then we started doing it the next day. So we do like Mondays, Tuesday, Wednesday, so on and so forth. Make sure that when you are seeing your patients that you are marking the appointments as occurred and that you are putting your duration of the appointment. So it doesn't matter if you're a dietitian, a therapist, whatever. You want to make sure that you're putting that. That way you're using the appropriate code when you submit your claim. So everybody has codes that specify what they're being seen for today, what the patient's being seen for, and the time and things like that. So, creating a CMS 1500 claim and where do you go? So, there are 3 common ways to start creating a claim in Healthy. How you plan on doing your billing will decide on which way to use. So the first way is actually going into Healthy on the left-hand side of your screen. In the billing section, you go to the CMS 1500 form, the new claim, do the new CMS 1500, and then select your client. Or you can go into the client's profile, the billing section, and new CMS 1500 form. Or if you want to create all these claims as soon as you finish charting, you can do that as well. And that is from the charting, you'd go into more, create CMS 1500. Now I'm going to show you some of these things that I've just talked about. So right now, so we're going to go over here to my desktop too. So if you see my head pointing in that direction, that is why. So I'm hoping that everybody can see my desktop too, where I'm in Healthie. And so for reports, when we were talking about the appointment reports to make, depending on when you want to do your billing. So say it's for this week, or if you want to do, daily. So say today we want to do Friday's claims, then we can pick the 4th and then run that report for all of my providers for that day and then download the report and then you have it. And then you can filter that per your occurred so that you're only doing your occurred dates. You can do a report by status and only do your occurred. You can also do that as well.
Allie, I'm so sorry. The
Yes.
screen share isn't showing. We're
Oh,
just still
so
seeing the
sorry. You
I
just
should have called it out a little bit
oh,
earlier. There we go. Now we
that's
can see it.
okay. Okay, so sorry. I had to. I'm sorry. I forgot to hit share.
That's okay. That's
Um,
okay. Perfect.
so here's the appointments report. You can do it by date or you can do it by this week. Sorry, I'll go back and kind of go back and share that. Um, you can do it by appointment type if you wanted to. We don't do that. We do all appointments. You can do by status. So if it's occurred, you keep out your no shows and your late cancellation. We run the report by appointment types and then keep the appointment the way it is. And then we filter by occurred. And that way, if we need to keep a report of how many people no showed, late canceled for that day, we have that already in the report run. You can just filter through that as we go. All right. So then as far as the different ways to do billing, you would go here to your billing. This is the first step that I talked about, like going here to your billing and your CMS 1500, and then a new CMS 1500 is one way. You can go into your client and go here to billing, CMS 1500, and then new CMS 1500. Or if while you're charting, you have decided that you're going to do your billing, you can do all your billing now and then send it later. It's that's another way to do it. So once you're here and you finish your chart notes, you go over here to more and then you create the CMS 1500 from here. And then you can get them all ready if you do decide to go that way and then send them all at one time. So that's the couple of different options, the 3 different options how you can do a claim. So let me screen share my desktop again. So now we're going to create a CMS 1500 claim form and the claim details. The client information will populate into the key fields within the claim form. Make sure the following info is filled for the first time, and then the subsequent claims will autofill. Now, on that particular keynote, for your second claim, if you do follow-ups and you have a specific code for follow-ups, you will need to change that code for any subsequent for your first subsequent claim and then any other claim after that. So like if you're a dietitian and the first claim is your initial claim and then the second claim you will have to go in and change it from the initial to the follow-up, and then all your follow-ups will subsequently autofill. The only thing that may change is your duration. So if you did an hour for the first follow-up, then that'll be 4 units. And then if your second one is, 30 minutes, then you only use 2 units. So that's where it's going to change and what you'll have to keep track of when you do any subsequent claims. But you want to make sure that all the information is in there and correct. Your service facility is important because this is where your place of service is. If it is a telehealth, place of treatment 10 or 2. Now, 10 is for the patient being at home and 2 is anywhere else. So if you plan to ask your patient every time where they're located, then you may use 2. However, I think it's pretty safe to say that the majority of people are going to use 10. You're going to use 10 and you're not going to ask, you're just going to assume they're at home. So those are the two difference of place of treatment, 10 or 2, or of course in person, which is place of treatment 11. Your billing provider should be your company name and your company MPI, unless there are specific guidelines from the payer that you should be using your rendering NPI. So, like for Texas Medicaid, if you're a Texas Medicaid provider, they want you to use your individual MPI. I'm going to show you all of this in here in a minute. So, be patient. I'm going to get there so you can see what it is that I'm saying. Um, Make sure the rendering provider is the provider that provided the service and that the primary insurance is showing and the correct diagnosis is showing. Okay, so now we're going to share the screen so that I can show you some of these things. Okay, so we're going to go share the screen too and hit my share screen. Okay, so when you're processing a claim, we're going to I'm going to show you this one that's already been processed. That way you can kind of get an idea. So for Jennifer, this already populates her name, her date of birth, her address, all of that automatically populates. Okay. If you have put in a referring physician, that will populate as well in this field if you put it in the referring physician. However, where you need to be paying attention to this is for your initial Medicare claim. If you process Medicare, then, and this does populate, you need to make sure that the box here is checked. So that's including the referring information on the CMS 1500. If you do not mark that box, then the referring physician is not going to be on the claim. You could just get in the habit of always marking that box and then it'll hold that information going forward. So for any initial claim, if you mark that box, any more claims after that will populate onto the claim and you don't have to keep marking the box. The rendering provider, this information this is going to automatically populate from when you filled out the patient and you gave them the provider they're going to be seeing. So they're going to see Jane Doe. Okay, now if this is a new provider that's seeing you, you will have to enter the NPI number one time. That first claim that that patient or that provider actually sees a patient, you will have to enter the NPI here. And that will auto populate going forward. Okay, you just have to do it one time. And then here is your service facility. Now, I created some service facilities so that I can show you how I do it. So if you see both patients in the office and telehealth, it's good to create 2 service facilities. Okay, so we've got a Barrett's Billing telehealth. So that's going to show you here that I'm using the place of treatment of a 10 and my address is here and my billing provider number is here. Okay. And then if I use Barrett's billing just with no telehealth, then I know that that's going to be my in person. And so that's going to be the place of treatment of 11, and my MPI and all of that is here. So it might be good to create two service facilities, one for your telehealth and one for your in person. Now you can change the service facility to say Barrett's billing in person if that makes it easier for you also. Your billing provider is going to be your company name with your billing NPI. So I have created Barrett's Billing. Here's the MPI, my billing provider number, and it'll have my address and everything if you look at the view details. Now, here is where you're going to make sure that if, like it's Medicaid, that you're going to change it to the using the rendering provider NPI number. You will select that one if you're billing to Medicare or if you have a payer. I just know for Texas that Medicaid is one of those providers. So you may have a provider in your state that you would need to do that for, and then you would change it there. Make sure that your primary insurance here is showing and that you have that. If they have a secondary, that'll populate down here. That this will automatically populate with the signature, client signature on file and insurance holder signature on file. And here are your diagnosis codes. Make sure that you have those listed and that they are marked down here. If they are not marked and it's blank, Healthy will prompt you for an error and state that. So here's where the procedure code is going to go, right? If this is the procedure code that you're billing for, if today this is the reassessment, so this is the follow up, how much time is your duration? It an hour and a half? You're going to use 6 units because this particular procedure code is a 15-minute increment. So you're going to use 6 units and you bill $66 per unit for that 15 unit. Okay. It will automatically populate the amount down here. Unfortunately, the help sim is in the way, so you cannot see that. Or for example, say you're going to do 99404. This is for an hour. Okay. So this is approximately 60 minutes. So for this particular code, these codes can actually be billed together. So you can bill, say you did see the patient for an hour and a half. So this unit will be 1. And then you can add I think it's 99402 is the 30-minute. And when it says separate procedure code, that means that these two can be billed together on one claim. So it's approximately 30 minutes. So we're going to say 1 unit here, and you bill 150 for the hour and 75 for the 1 unit. And so then it'll populate. See, right? Let's see if we can put it so you can see the price. So your total is 225 right there. But you need to make sure that your units are correct on what you're billing. Okay. So if you are a dietitian and you're billing 97802, that is your initial for 15, then that wants to be 6. And if you're billing both codes, it'll hold your fee per code. So, okay, so now that we've gone over those things, we're going to move on to my next slide.
Allie, I'm sorry. The
Oh,
question
yeah.
that just popped up is
Yeah.
relevant to what you were just talking about.
Okay.
The question is, what needs to be set up in Healthy to get the fee to auto-populate in the claim?
Okay, so in order for nothing, it's you're processing. Okay, so say you're a new dietitian or new provider, and you're processing your first claim. Only thing you need to do is make sure that you enter your fee right there for the first time. So, for example, if you're using 97802 as a dietitian and you have,
Allie, sorry, can you go
oh,
back and reshare the Healthy screen if you
oh,
can't
so
look at
sorry.
it? No,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
okay. We're popping around a lot.
It would be nice if it would let me do both screens so that I could show you them concurrently. But anyway, okay, so right here in the fee schedule, did I hit share? Can you see
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah,
screen?
yeah, we can see it.
Okay, just making sure. So, for example, so for 97802, this is your first claim ever for 97802. You're going to populate the fee 97802, put your units in, and then you will populate it with the $60. It will hold it for you. Okay. Now, if you want to go back and you can submit test claims and go in and add all the codes that you're going to use in the fee schedule, and then you could delete them after you do that. So if you wanted to go in and set up all your, so hey, I'm going to create this save and close. Oh, look, see an error. This is the error message that you get when you do not click a diagnosis code. Okay, so we've saved it for this one. You can double check it by creating a new claim. And let's see. So it's this is going to show you how it auto populates. Now, I did not pick the last claim, so it may be pulling from the actual last claim that was processed for this patient. But here you go. See, 150 was saved in here for 99404. So that auto populated in there for the $150. And like I said, you could go in and change all of you can create test forms, make you a test patient and just go in there and create all kinds of claims with the different codes that you use and put your rate in there per unit in there, and then you'll have them all saved. I hope that answered the question.
Thank you so much, Allie.
No problem. I am going to go back over to sharing. I don't know where I was. I think we did this one right. Or is this the next slide? I think this is the next slide, right? Does this make sure? Okay. Anyway, we'll reread it anyway, just in case, because I think I'm going over some of the same things that I just went over. So making sure that you accept assignment. We'll go back and look at that. Your procedure code for the services provided and that your units match. We kind of already talked about that when I went over and showed you how to process the CMS 1500 and mark your diagnosis code. What I did not talk about is making sure that the appropriate modifiers have been added. So if it is a telehealth claim, you need to make sure that you're inputting 95 for any telehealth claim. So you need to make sure that your modifiers have been appropriately put on the claim. Another for dietitians anyway, there aren't very many modifiers that you should not be using. But for 95, you'll definitely be using that one, and you'll be using the GA modifier, which is for Medicare, which I'm sure will be a question, and I will answer that when when that question arises. Your date of service should also populate. Now, it should populate for the day for the last appointment. So if you are doing yours 1 week at a time, it should populate for the last time that the patient was seen. So you just want to make sure if you're doing it for a week that you're double checking your date of service. But it's going to populate the last session. Okay? But if you, like I said, if you're doing a week and maybe you saw that client twice, you want to make sure that the correct date is in there. If you're doing it daily, it should populate with the correct date. Or if you're doing your claim right after you do your chart note, it's going to populate the correct date. You'll have it right in front of you. So you want to make sure that those things have been marked. So now we're going to share the screen for the things that I just spoke about. I will talk about the GA modifier here as I'm doing that. Okay. So when it said accepts assignment, this is automatically populated with Healthie. So this is the where it's marked. Okay. It'll automatically populate, but you need to make sure and that the client signature and insurance holder signature on file is marked, but it should auto populate for you. Okay. Those are things that are needed on a CMS 1500 form. Okay, so when we're talking about, we already talked about the procedure code per based off of the services that you provided. Now let's talk about the modifiers. You need to make sure that the 95 is automatically submitted on a telehealth claim. Okay. Where that GA modifier comes into play is for Medicare patients. This will be probably another class that we do when we talk about forms that are required for processing. But when you have a Medicare patient, you should be, if you're taking Medicare, then you should know that you should be applying, having the patient sign an ABN. What the ABN is a form that they fill out for services. So if their diagnosis doesn't cover it, or they only have a certain amount of allowed visits, they are aware that that is a possibility where they have to pay for their services out of pocket. And they get to pick if we send the claims to Medicare still, or if they don't want us to send the claims to Medicare. So I can show you that, but that'll be something that we talk about in a later class. So please make sure that you sign up for all the classes that I'm going to be having. But in modifiers in general, need, if your particular code needs a modifier, like if you are a physical therapist or a doctor that does bilateral procedures, you need to make sure that you're making that the bilateral modifiers are on there, because what will happen is your claim will deny. If you've got two services that you're providing on two separate legs, then you need to make sure that you're notating that with a modifier. So as a provider whose credentials, they should have shared their fee schedule and all your codes and modifiers that you need to be billing for. So those are things that you may need to know, or that is when you need to hire a biller who can do that for you. So let's go on. I see there's quite a few questions, so we're gonna move on, and hopefully we will have time for all of those.
Ali, I just want to do a time check. Maybe we go for another minute, and I think there's one answer primarily that we want to talk about live. One question.
Okay, sure, sure, sure. Okay, so I'll just do the screen and then we'll answer that question. So submitting and exporting a 1500 claim. Once the claims have properly been completed, and I would do all of your claims, okay, first before doing this. Always review your claims before you hit save and close. Make sure you fix any errors, okay? But I would do all of your claims. So if you're doing them for a week, do them all first before you go to this part. Now, if you only have one claim that you need to submit, then of course, submit it. So what I do when I do this is I go to CMS 1500s, and I go to my not sent. So if I've done several claims for the day and I have 34 that I did based off of my appointments report, I go to the not sent and I click the not sent. So only my not sent claims will be showing up. Am I showing my screen? Shoot. Let me show my screen, and I can talk while I'm doing this. Okay. Can you see my screen? Okay.
Not yet,
So,
Ali. We still can't see it.
okay. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to do this as quick as possible and make sure sharing screen. Okay.
Perfect.
Awesome. Okay. So I went to billing and my CMS 1500s, and I went to my not sent. Okay. So I have all of my not sent claims here. I did 34 of them, so 34 should be showing. I click these, so all of them are highlighted. And why is my screen not showing me? Shoot. Anyway, down here at the bottom, it shows export to Sorry, I'm moving it around so I can tell you what it shows. Let me see if I can make it smaller or okay, there it showed. Oops. No. Okay. So it says send to Office Ally. So if you're integrated with Office Ally, you would automatically send them to Office Ally. If you're not integrated with Office Ally and you send your claims to like Claims MD or things like that, then you would export them to a TXT, take that file and upload them into your clearinghouse that you utilize. And that is where I was on that. So if you want to go ahead and give me some questions, I'm
Yes,
done
I
with that.
can. I think the main one, I wanted to have you answer live. It came up at the very beginning of the session,
Okay.
related to what you can and can't bill. The question is for time, can you include charting time or only face-to-face time?
Well, that depends on what kind of provider you are. So if you're billing as a dietitian, that code, but all the codes that you guys are allowed to bill is face to face time. Okay. If you're billing the 99402 or 99404, it doesn't specify that. Let me pull that so I can read you exactly what that code is so that you can understand what it is that I'm saying, because sometimes I talk technical. So it says preventative medicine counseling and or risk factor reduction intervention provided to an individual, um, approximately 60 minutes. That one doesn't specify that it's face to face. So you can probably add on a 15-minute. They do have a 15-minute code there. So 99402 is actually the 30, but 901 is the 15-minute. I wouldn't go over 15 minutes. Unless, of course, you were talking to maybe a counselor, but I would maybe stay to the 15 minutes, but this one doesn't specify. But if you are a dietitian and you're billing 97803, it specifically states face to face. So you can only bill face to face time. Did that answer the question?
I'm waiting to see if there's any typing happening.
Okay.
If that didn't answer the question, feel free to send an email to hello@gethealthy.com and we'll make sure that the question gets routed to Allie and you get the answer there. Um, I think that's where we should leave off, just
Okay.
keeping an eye on time.
Actually, we are. That is where we're leaving off. So you
Go
were
ahead.
were you going to talk about this or me? But I can talk about this.
Sure.
So, popular healthy billing integrations. We're not going to deep dive on this today. However, this is a little overview, and more information can be found at harbor.gethealthy.com. So, Office Ally is who that we currently integrate with, and these integrations are enabled for Plus Plan members and above. Claims MD integration is in beta testing, and this integration will be available for Plus Plan members and above. And if you subscribe to be notified, you can subscribe to be notified when this goes live. And then there are several other billing integrations for private practice depending on your plan. Those are listed right there. And this is going to go out to you guys after this. Um, and then now we can go to questions if we have any, or did we run out of time?
I don't think we have any other questions. Okay, maybe last one and then we'll call it. And if there's any other questions, we should please direct them to hello@gethealthy.com. So the question is, have you encountered situations where the assignment of benefits was checked? The payer was out of network, yet they still sent the check to the patient. If so, based on your experience, is there anything further that can be done in these cases?
I would need to see that particular situations, but normally they will send it to the provider unless you put that the patient paid amount is in there. A lot of times, if you put that the patient paid up front, like say $150 or whatnot, they usually do send it to the patient. But normally, if you're the payer's out at network and the accept assignment is marked, they should be submitting it to you. But that would be something where I need to actually see and maybe review it and see if there was something particular. Could be that the payer has a particular benefit that they automatically send it to the patient also.
Thank you, Allie. Thanks again so much for this. Just a reminder to everyone who's still on, we will be sending out an email with the recording and relevant resources, including the deck. So if you missed anything, you should be able to get that. And then if you have any questions that didn't get answered, or if you have questions about the following sessions, please do email hello@gethealthy.com. All right. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.